If you're new, join the Discord and subscribe. Thanks. Hey, how's it going, guys? Marsh Games here, and welcome to Grounded Update 0.3.0. This is the September 2020 content update, and there is a ton of things that are exciting to go over. For the new features, the hedge has been revamped with new content. There's a new building of ziplines, we have a spinning wheel, and we have signs. There's a new world landmark called Frankenline. There has been a few Halloween additions like jack-o'-lanterns spread everywhere and candy-corn food items. A few languages that were added for localization are French, German, Spanish, and Italian. And new spiderwebs that stick to unsuspecting players and critters have now been added, so watch out for those. The engine for the game has been upgraded to Unreal Engine 4, which is going to have a huge performance boost, which is amazing. For some combat changes, ant soldiers have a new set of attacks, so make sure to learn those so you don't die of ant soldiers. That'll be kind of embarrassing. The ant soldiers also now deal more damage with their attacks. The tase.ts will now deal more damage with their attacks. Most armors will now block more damage, which is nice, and all weapons have their damage, stamina cost, and durability adjusted to fit a stricter tier-based curve, so most likely you're going to have more durability on a tier 2 tool or weapon. The Bombardier Beetle burning hazards and stink bug gas hatches are now much deadlier. Bombardier Beetle attacks deal less initial damage, but in the end you need to be careful of those hazardous burning attacks. The fresh defense perk, which can be found in your status tab, now blocks twice as much gas and burning damage. The reliable friend perk now boosts revive speed by roughly double the amount. And one last interesting combat change, they are trying out new combat AI to reduce the effectiveness of circle strafing, so you can say goodbye to your circle strafing. Everybody's need to learn how to block now. For your player interface, the processing buildings such as a campfire now show the progress of each item in the interface and allow items to be cancelled. The recycle building interface now shows how many structures will collapse if the target building is recycled. The contextual slurping text informs you what liquid you're about to taste. There has been additional icon art. The Interact UI will no longer briefly appear enabled when looking at a disabled interaction. There is now a clear labeling of game modes / types and save / load UIs. And the game no longer asks to override a save if you are not able to currently save the game. Some interesting changes with the world. You have new perks to discover and unlock, and I'll make a future video on that, so make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for that. There are new scab color themes to discover and unlock. Stumps left behind no longer prevent foliage from respawning, and grass will not respawn if the stump is removed, thankfully. Ants now have a desire to take back their stolen eggs, and ant eggs can now hatch even after being moved by the player, but not while in their inventory. Ant eggs can no longer stack in the inventory. The larva wander range is now much smaller during the day. Mushrooms in the world take much longer to grow back, and meats now take much longer to spoil, which is awesome. Scabs that have been moved since prior patches will reflect these moves in older saves. The mint chunks in the mint container should no longer spawn on top of the container. Juice boxes stop spawning juice if a droplet spawned by them is still sitting in the world. Removed the brood mother from the hedge. It says for now, so stay tuned for that. And they added harvest graphics to the hedgeberry. Some changes to the building mechanics. The structural buildings are now fully allowed to overlap with any static environment object. Blueprint buildings in the air cannot be completed unless a supporting building has been completed. This prevents situations where large structures would collapse because they are technically unsupported. Buildings can no longer be built inside of tables. Buildings can be placed more easily on the pond flagstones now. Mushroom Garden's spawn timer will now start when the building is built instead of when it is placed. And I didn't know that was a problem, but thankfully that's fixed. Smoke from torches, wall scones, and campfires should now rarely penetrate floors and ceilings. The plank and log storage deposit sound effects now play on clients. The player will no longer play canteen animations when building a water container with a canteen in their hands. The clay foundation now has double the health, and pebblet foundation has now less health, but still more than clay. There's been one major change to crafting, and that is most recipes that require spiderwebs have been refactored to use a processed spiderweb obtainable through the new spinning wheel instead, and I will go over that soon. There has been a specific performance boost on the large bases and structures for your CPU, and some other miscellaneous changes are an additional water caustic effects. Bird feathers now float in the water. Weed stems now float in the water. The quote-unquote drop control can now be rebound. The swim up and swim down ground control bindings are now allowed to overlap with other controls that cannot be used while swimming. Moving on to bug fixes, and this applies to all platforms, which is awesome. The top community issues were free buildings attached to a player-built structure will no longer become out of position for clients. The game will no longer crash in some specific cases when demolishing a plank or log storage building, and ants will no longer spawn in excessively large quantities. Some game bug fixes are the Alchemist Burgle quests will now complete if you have accepted the quest as a player but have already analyzed the target item. Kill-based perks will now only track kills on enemies. They have fixed an issue with encounters not respawning creatures if they fell through the world in a prior save. They have fixed the bug of hiding interact prompt E or X when looking at a locked/stuck door. Regarding items, the berry chunks will no longer inflate themselves when subjected to a strong impact while lying on the ground. Traps can no longer be triggered for a few seconds after destruction. Traps can also no longer be triggered by the third-person camera. The Tropicop juice droplets should now correctly spawn from the straw of the juice box instead from the base. And the Bombardier head trophy should now be much easier to place. A couple of bug fixes for the user interface are various camera animations adjustments were made to reduce the camera clipping into objects in the player's body, and hiding interact prompt E or X when looking at a locked/stuck door. And a couple of audio bug fixes, the buildings no longer create noise events immediately after loading a saved game. And chatter audio is now attached to the player character and should sound better when moving. So this is the spinning wheel right here, and all I know as of now is that you can put spider, silk, or web fibers into here, and you can put plant fibers in here, and you can make woven fibers, and it will automatically do them for you. So if you put 4 plant fibers in here, eventually you'll have 4 woven fibers down here, and same will go for the spider silk or web fibers, same thing. But if you put the spider silk in here, you will eventually get the more durable fibers that you need to craft. The web fibers make this stuff called silk rope, and you're gonna need it for pretty much everything that requires, everything that requires you to have spider webs before. You're now gonna have to make silk rope, and that is right, I was gonna say it's right here in the resources and materials, but it makes sense that you cannot craft it because you're going to need to use this spinning wheel in order to make that silk rope for all your tools. To make the zip lines, you're going to have to make a zipline anchor, and it's not very expensive to make, and you're going to need a upgrade, I think, from Burgle, but we can just start one here and start one over here. But I'm pretty sure in the trailer update video it mentioned that you're going to need to get some sort of upgrade for this thing, but we can try set something up. Connect zipline. Wait, how do I... What? With what? Do I just need a bunch of silk rope? I can't get that right now. I'm not exactly sure what you need from Burgle to actually make this work, because I heard it in the patch notes, but you just need some silk rope in order to connect these. Anyways, that's all for this update. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.